Hey everyone, and what's going on? Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Justin. Forgive the new background. I moved. I'm still getting everything all set up. I got the jerseys going on here. I got a couple extra I gotta get up. Lots going on here. But it finally happened. We got some news. Auston Matthews is still a Toronto Maple Leaf and will be for the next 5 years. Yes, he signed a 4-year extension on top of the 1 year he still has remaining on his current contract. I got to get the details here. 4 years, $13.25 million. So finally, we've got some news. It's been dragging on for far too long, the Matthews and Nylander situation, and I find it very interesting. I don't know if it was calculated at all, but William Nylander just had a report for the first time today that he's being patient. He wants to be a Leaf long term, but he has no reason to want to rush into a contract right now. He sees it as still another year to negotiate. That was the first peep of news we've had, really, actual news all summer pretty much, other than July 1st when free agency started and the players essentially said, no, don't get your hopes up. It's not happening anytime soon. We're going to be pretty patient. So Nylander breaks some noise earlier today. Not a contract signing, but at least it was encouraging seeing that he wants to remain a Leaf for the long-term future. And then right now, it's about 5:30 p.m. Auston Matthews inks his contract. And to boot, I saw him post a little post on, I think it was like X or Instagram, just saying that he desires and wants to remain a Leaf, and just that makes me so happy. But let's get into the contracts. The number, it's big. It's huge. It is going to be the biggest annual salary for an NHL player when it kicks in next year. Right now, Connor McDavid had set the precedence at $12.5 million. Then Nathan MacKinnon one-ups him at $12.6 million. So it's a pretty hefty jump to go from 12.6 as the highest contract in the league to 13.24 or 13.25. I think it's too much money, quite frankly. If I'm speaking completely honestly, it's way too much of the salary cap. It puts us continually in the same issues that we've had with the salary cap that we've faced for the last, 6 years. It doesn't help the team at all. Except for the fact that you retain your best player. Far and away, the best player on your team. One of the top 5 players in the entire league, if not the entire world. So, with that said, you give them what they ask for. If there was any possibility of Auston Matthews saying that he was going to ride out his no-trade clause, his full no-move clause, and move if he didn't get the money that he wanted, he was asking for, then yeah, you give it to him. People have to keep that in mind as well. It wasn't a situation where if the Leafs didn't want to pay Matthews what he wanted, that they could just move him in a deal. No, Matthews had full control over this situation, and he clearly wanted to be the highest paid player by a decent margin. Not to mention the fact that it's only a 4-year deal, so it's not like he's committing long-term at 13.25. But they've made it work. They finally had it, finalized. I think that this deal was actually pretty much completed a few weeks ago, if not a couple months ago. I think that they were just being patient with it. They wanted to see what was going to happen with the William Nylander situation. Matthews wanted to see what was going to happen with the Leafs in free agency. But they finally made the announcement today, and it's just super, super exciting. It is, again, the best player on this team. How could you not be excited about keeping your best player? I know the number is going to be very contentious, and it should be. It's a lot of money. But again, you do what you can to keep a player that has that much control. Unfortunately, they made it work, and it's finally done. No more noise, no more chatter. Auston Matthews is confirmed staying a Leaf. That's probably the most exciting part of this, is that, for years, haters, people in the outside world kept saying that Auston Matthews was going to leave in free agency. And there was literally no reason to anticipate that. He never suggested at any time that he was interested in leaving. He's always backed that he loved Toronto and wanted to stay in Toronto. People made up this rumor that he wanted to go home in Arizona, and maybe that would be the case if they were a really competitive team, or if they were on the brink of having to be moved and he wanted to, let's say, go and save the franchise. But there was no legitimate fabric to those rumors. It was just people being haters and coming up with bullshit and spreading it. And it became this humongous thing that Auston Matthews didn't want to be in Toronto, didn't want to be in Canada. And the first opportunity he would have, he was going to jump ship and go to an American team. And honestly, that's kind of the way the NHL is moving these days. It started with the John Tavares situation, then now it's growing with Johnny Gaudreau and others in the league. So it wouldn't be that far-fetched, but it had no warrant to it. In fact, of the three young pieces of the core for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that being Matthews, Nylander, and Marner, Matthews signed the quickest. He signed mid-season. He just wanted to get it done, and he got his contract out there. Marner waited until the first day of training camp and then announced his. And Nylander, obviously, infamously, rode out the RFA season until December 1st at the last possible minute to get as much money as he could. So of the three players, Matthews, in my mind, was the least likely to play out and want to walk away in free agency. Yet that was the storyline that's been around for the last 5 or so years. And now we get to tell all the naysayers to shut up. Auston Matthews wants to be a Leaf. He wants to be here. Now, this is kind of going off into a different subject here, but it is incredibly shameful that the number that we look at here at 13.25 is regarded as such a big number. It really, really pisses me off, the fact that the NHL has such low salaries comparatively to the rest of the other North American sports leagues. You know, Connor McDavid, for instance, the best player by far, by a mile in the entire world, makes $12.5 million. That's a lot of money. Yes, don't get me wrong. But that is the face of not only the NHL, but the entire sport. That is the guy that is single-handedly going to grow this league, grow this sport, continue to push on. Like, that is the face of hockey. And the amount of money that that guy generates, just his name, just his likelihood, just his jersey sales, whatever it may be, that alone probably outweighs tenfold the $12.5 million he's getting paid. Whereas his peers in other leagues, the best sport in other leagues, the best player in other leagues, gets made, $50, $100 million a year, depending on what sport you're looking at. So to me, actually, hockey players get paid very, very little compared to what they're actually deserving. And considering Auston Matthews is a top 5 player in the NHL, is the face of a franchise that is the second most valuable in the entire sport, of a league that struggles to market, that is a player that you market, that is the player you focus on, and he only gets made $13.25 million. Again, it's a ton of money. The guy is going to be well off for the rest of his life. But comparatively speaking, it's just so low, and it's pretty pathetic if you ask me as far as the NHL and the salary cap goes. I think it's a terrible system. I think that the league would go much further without it. And this is just another situation where, again, a star player that should be making upwards of probably $50 million a year for what he does for the sport, for the league, for the team, is settling for a number just because of the salary cap. And yet people are going to complain that it is too high. Comparatively speaking, for the salary cap, yes, it is a large chunk of it, but if you're just looking at numbers, the guy deserves to make more than that. But again, finally done. I'm just excited to have this storyline over with. Now we can just focus on next season. Obviously, still waiting on the William Nylander situation. I do hope they bring him back. It does need to be at the right number. I'm excited that, Nylander was supposedly holding out until the Matthews contract was signed before he got something done. So for all we know, Nylander falls through in the next week and we hear about that contract extension and everybody's locked in. That's the best case scenario. We're just going to have to wait and see. But in the meantime, please let me know your thoughts on the contract. Tell me about the number of years, the AAV. What do you think Matthews truly deserves? Or are you just excited that he's staying a Leaf like I am? I've got 3 of his jerseys back there. Clearly, I'm a big fan. So I'm looking forward to seeing 5 more years of Auston Matthews in the blue and white, and I hope you are too. So thank you so much for clicking on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.